was a quiet evening in Tennessee. The sun was setting, painting the sky with gold and red. Jess Carter, wearing her ball cap, checked the pizza boxes on the passenger seat. Another delivery done. 2 more to go. It wasn't a fancy job, but it paid the bills. After serving for years in Delta Force, Jess liked a piece of small-town life. She turned onto a gravel road, the tires crunching under her car, when she heard engines behind her. She glanced in the mirror, 4 bikers speeding toward her. They wore leather vests, had big beards, and bad attitudes. Locals called them the Copperheads, known troublemakers. Jess sighed. She had seen far worse. The bikers boxed her in and forced her to pull over. Dust swirled around as they surrounded her car, laughing and sneering. "Well, well," said the biggest one, tapping on her window with a greasy finger. "What you got there, sweetheart? Dinner for us?" Jess rolled her window halfway down. "Just delivering pizzas," she said calmly. "Move so I can do my job." Another biker with a snake tattoo around his neck grinned. "We are your job now." The big one yanked open her door. Jess stayed calm. She had been trained for situations far worse. "Come on out, girlie," he barked. "Let's have some fun." Jess stepped out. 5'5" tall, calm as ever. She showed them her empty hands and spoke clearly. "I'm giving you one chance. Walk away." The bikers burst out laughing. One even held his stomach from laughing so hard. "You hear that?" he laughed. "She thinks she's tough." The big biker reached for her. Bad idea. Jess moved fast. She grabbed his wrist, twisted it painfully, and dropped him to his knees. Before the others could react, she elbowed the tall one in the throat, dropping him too. A third biker swung a chain at her. Jess ducked and swept his legs, pinning him to the ground. The last one pulled a knife. Jess dodged, caught his arm, and broke it at the elbow. He screamed and dropped the knife. 3 bikers lay groaning. One tried to crawl away. Jess calmly grabbed the pizzas from her car and set them on the hood. "Like I said," she drawled, stepping over them, "I'm just here to deliver." Red and blue lights flashed. Sheriff Morgan arrived after Jess secretly triggered a distress call. Seeing the scene, he asked, "Jess, what in God's name happened?" "They slipped," Jess said with a shrug. Morgan chuckled and cuffed the bikers. "Next time they'll think twice about messing with a delivery driver, especially one from Delta Force." Jess tipped her cap, got in her car, and drove off into the sunset, pizza still hot and on time. But Jess Carter's night wasn't over. After her last delivery, she headed back to the pizza shop, singing along to the radio. She didn't notice 2 more bikers following her until she pulled into the parking lot behind the shop. They blocked her car. One got off his bike, crowbar in hand. "You think you can beat up our brothers and just walk away?" he snarled. The second biker called someone on his phone. "Bring everyone! Bring them all!" Jess counted the seconds. Soon, she heard the rumble of engines. 7 more bikes arrived. 10 angry men with bats, chains, and evil smiles. Jess stood still, thinking fast. She could run, she could hide, but there were civilians inside the pizza shop. Teenagers, old folks. She had to stop the bikers here. The first one swung the crowbar. Jess sidestepped, twisted his wrist, and made him drop it. She moved like a shadow, precise, fast. She kicked one in the knee, elbowed another in the face, and knocked one into a truck hard enough to break the glass. They tried to swarm her, but Jess wasn't some bar brawler. She was trained Delta Force. She used their own strength against them, knocking them down quickly. One biker swung a tire iron. Jess ducked and punched in so hard she heard ribs crack. Another tried to tackle her. Jess flipped him onto a car hood. The leader, A giant man with a scar on his face charged at her. Jess baited him, then smashed his head into a mirror. By the time Sheriff Morgan arrived, the bikers were scattered, moaning or unconscious. Morgan looked at the chaos and said, "Jess, they escalated," Jess said, wiping blood from her lip. Morgan laughed and started cuffing bikers. "I think it's time the Copperheads found a new town." Jess smiled, picked up the now hiring driver's sign that had been knocked over, jammed it back into the ground, and said, "Still need the tips." Morgan chuckled. "Something tells me you don't need help with deliveries." Jess just tipped her cap again and drove off into the Tennessee night, her legend already starting to spread. A few nights later, Jess found a ratty envelope tucked under her windshield. Inside was a note written in messy handwriting. "Meet us at the Black Viper Saloon tonight. No cops, just you. Settle this once and for all." Jess smiled. They were either too proud or too stupid to admit they had lost. She slipped the note into her jacket, checked her boots, and thought about what tools she might need. She wouldn't need much. This wasn't a war. This was cleanup. The Black Viper Saloon was an old, falling-apart bar on the edge of town. When Jess arrived, she could hear music and voices inside. Inside, the place was dark and smoky. About 20 bikers packed into the room. They leaned on pool tables, gripping pool cues like weapons. At the center stood their leader, Big Vince, 6 feet 5 inches tall and built like a truck. "Well, well," Vince said when he saw her. "The pizza princess herself." Jess walked calmly into the middle of the room. "No tricks, no cops, just you and us," Vince said, spreading his arms. Jess looked around at the blocked exits. "Fair?" she said softly, then smiled. "You're going to need more men." Before anyone could react, Jess grabbed a pool cue from a biker, spun it like a staff, cracked it across one guy's face, and swept another off his feet. Chaos erupted. Bikers lunged at her. Jess stood there, breathing lightly, surveying the wreckage. "You're lucky," she said, tossing the broken cue aside. "If this were a real mission, none of you would be getting up." Outside, sirens howled. Sheriff Morgan and half the county cops were on their way after someone tipped them off. Jess strolled past Big Vince, who was struggling to crawl out of the debris. She leaned down and said coolly, "Next time you kick a fight, make sure you're not out of your league." Then Jess Carter walked out into the night, leaving 20 broken bikers behind her. The legend of the badass pizza girl burning even brighter.